You earlier were siding with a Muslim. Why so?
Why so? Because quite hilariously and quite racism on my part, I asked you the question, are you Hindutva? Of course you're a Christian, I knew that. But why do I side with them? Because of paganism.
What do you mean because of paganism? What are you talking
The
about?
reason I asked if you were Hindutva.
No, why did you side with the Muslims?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't taking a side.
Yeah, sure. But you were
Just
cracking
purely
some
filming.
jokes and so on.
Yeah.
Islam is a horrible religion. Do we agree?
No,
We don't?
I disagree with that.
Okay. How much of the Quran have you read in your life?
Not much of it.
In other words, you're ignorant and you want to disagree. On what basis?
I'm not ignorant to the Quran.
If you don't know the Quran, okay, you haven't read the Quran, so
I'm
how?
not claiming to be a Muslim.
But please listen.
Yeah.
I asked you earlier, do we agree Islam is a horrible religion? You said no.
Yes.
Yeah. So okay, maybe I got it wrong. Do you have a position in relation to Islam? Do you think Islam is a legitimate religion?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So in other words, you do take a position in relation to Islam. So I'm asking you, based on what knowledge do you take that position if you have never read the Quran?
I've read the Hadiths.
Okay, you've never read the Quran, you've read the Hadiths. Which Hadiths have you read?
Shia ones.
But what details did you read that makes you think Islam is a legit?
No, I
problem.
do not claim to be learned in the subject.
I didn't
I've
ask
got
you.
many friends.
Whoa. So once. Did I ever say that you are? Did I say you have to start a university soon?
You called me ignorant.
Well, when you haven't got a clue and you still are not showing any clue, you are ignorant. So please don't be offended.
Maybe I'll take your email. Maybe I'll read your book. But that will be just wasting time, in my opinion.
Excuse me, sir. You are shaking already. Please stay focused, my dear friend. You need to stay focused. What I am saying is, let me be honest with you. The only reason I am challenging you is this: there are many millions who are walking walking in our country today, walking around. Anytime we speak about Islam, they come in defense. Oh, Islam! Oh, you are a racist. You're this. You're that, and so on. And what I am finding with all of those people, they are clueless. They haven't got a clue. They can't explain why we have terrorist attacks in our nation. They can't explain. They can't explain why hundreds and thousands of people are being killed by Muslims across the world today. They can't explain why nations such as Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nigeria, northern part of Nigeria, Iran, Iraq, all over the world, in many, including in places such as Malaysia and Indonesia, which are meant to be a little bit more advanced, non-Muslims are persecuted severely. They can't explain. They don't care. They couldn't get, whatever. They are deeply irresponsible, seeing all these wicked acts and yet being entirely clueless, but standing here and saying Islam is a legit religion. I consider that to be deeply irresponsible. You're pretty much like, someone stands and murders someone, you haven't got a clue as to what happened, and you show up there and say, the right for the murderer. That's not good.
Surely you can separate the religion from extremism.
Sure, you can.
Yeah.
If you are able to, based on information, which you don't have. Do you have any information to tell me Osama bin Laden is a bad Muslim? One second, let me finish. Let me please finish. Let me ask you a specific question and answer. If you can't answer,
what's the difference between a terrorist and a freedom fighter?
Please.
Answer me that question.
Okay. In other words, you now will rant on. You're clearly clueless, but you wouldn't mind. You're a typical lunatic leftist who doesn't want to learn, wants to argue, defend the defenseless. I'm going to ask you a poignant question. You are entirely right. I agree with you. There might be a way to differentiate a terrorist from a non-terrorist Muslim. I'm going to ask you, yes, clearly there are people who are already engaged in terrorism and there are people who have not yet engaged in terrorism. Completely agree. I'm going to ask you, but according to the Quran, who is a Muslim, who is a better Muslim and who is not a good Muslim among these two?
In my personal opinion,
No, according to the Quran. No, your opinions don't matter. Look, you don't know.
Okay.
Right, that's why. In other words, clueless would want to defend. Please, my dear friend, my dear young man.
Do you think one of
One
God's
second, can I please?
messengers- I'm just going to answer.
No, one second.
No,
Sorry.
what?
Let me wrap up and then you. Let me wrap up and then you. No, that's fine. If you don't want to continue conversation, that's fine. I'll move on. But please don't spread and defend ignorance. Please don't. Thank you very much. All right, dear friends, time to leave Islam. While it is still sunny and we have time to leave Islam, please do quickly before it is too late. Leave this utterly ridiculous junk. If you have Qurans in your homes, bin them. They are utterly useless. They make people go mad.
And I don't believe in evolution.
They lead to severe mental issues, severe mental damage, brain damage.
I believe the earth is flat.
And I can demonstrate that to you right now by saying that there are many Muslims who are here who will come so near when I make specific points, but they won't have the courage to move further, closer. The reason is simple. These are people who haven't got a clue about their religion. Too much brain damage. Islam is a murderous death cult. Islam is a Nazi, genocidal cult, fascist cult.